Hello everyone, and welcome back. As now for today's episode I'm going to analyze none other than the evil entity, the overaching antagonist of Scooby Doo, Mr. Incorporated. A diabolical Anunnaki who is hell-bent to destroy the universe as we know it, the evil entity is by far the most powerful and the most evil villain that the Scooby-Doo and the gang ever faced. And it's my simple opinion that he is the greatest Scooby-Doo villain ever created, as coupled with the fact that he is one of the only two villains in the entire franchise to be pure evil, alongside Jacques from Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island. And in this episode I'm going to analyze all the information given about it throughout the series, to better understand the evil entity and his journey from an extra-dimensional visitor to the outright omnicidal maniac he has ultimately become. And now, without further ado, let's dive in. The evil entity hails from an interdimensional species known as the Anunnaki, who travel and visit entire dimensions and help the other lesser beings in order to build and evolve. And ultimately, the evil entity, while its real name is completely unknown, all that we know is the fact that he was some sort of a rebel to the Anunnaki, as while the rest were benevolent, the entity was malevolent, and even corrupted other members of his kind to become its minions. Eventually, around the year 10,191 BC, he was eventually imprisoned into the crystal sarcophagus and left forever on Earth. And thus, for over 12,000 years, the evil entity remained trapped into the crystal sarcophagus, unable to escape, while its minions were trapped in there as well and turned into black pearls. Eventually, the entity used what little power and influence still had on Earth in order to manipulate others. And eventually, sometime in the early 1600s AD, the sarcophagus ended up in Yucatan when he began to manipulate his first group of people in order to set itself free, the Hunters of Secrets and the Jaguar Spot, who ultimately, after they realized that they were manipulated by the entity, they created a spear, the heart of the Jaguar, in order to destroy it. However, just before they could succeed to do that, a conquistador named Fernando El Aguirre arrived and took the sarcophagus believing it was a treasure, thus indirectly saving the evil entity's life. And throughout their journey, the entity manipulated El Aguirre and his crew to commit various horrible crimes, resulting in them being ultimately deciding to leave the sarcophagus and anchor to the west coast of North America, where they founded a settlement, Crystal Cove, in 1630, and ultimately buried the crystal sarcophagus and all their treasure underground by using planispheric disk as some sort of an access key, and using other four objects as keys in order to accomplish this, by charting a path throughout space and time. And thus, for nearly 400 years, the entity remained trapped underground Crystal Cove, and thus will eventually continue to manipulate all the mystery gangs and the other citizens of the town in order to do its bidding, and specifically four people to use their mystery solving abilities to set itself free, and a talking animal for the entity to possess for a physical form, such as Fraternitas Mysterio and the Donkey Porto, who ultimately blown up half of the town in 1765 after he found two planispheric discs, the Alianzo Mysterio and the Skunk El Fucci, the Mystery Gang and their Bull Tiny, the Benevolent Lodge of Mysteries and their Orangutan Mr. Peaches, Mystery Fellowship and their Cat Whiskers, whose mansion sank underground with them in 1934 after they discovered a planispheric disc, and the original Mystery Incorporated and their parrot Professor Pericles, whose team ultimately disbanded in 1989, and now the new Mystery Incorporated and the special companion, Scooby Doo, in 2009. But no matter how many times the entity tried, group after group will all but eventually fall to their own dark sides, and the team will ultimately disband before they could find all the planispheric pieces. However, the entity will not give up, as through Scooby-Doo and the gang, managed to solve and unmask various criminals and villains throughout the series, all of them being disguised monsters who unknowingly did the evil entity's work, as well as coming in conflict with none other than Mayor Fred Jones Sr., the adoptive father of Fred Jones Jr., and the freak of Crystal Cove, and the very reason why the original Mr. Inc. ultimately went missing, as all was part of his plan to find the cursed treasure in order to prove that it exists. But ultimately, the one big bad that they all come across was none other than Professor Pericles, the mascot of the original Mr. Incorporated, who became into a criminal and escaped from jail after 20 years, who desired to assemble the planispheric disc and free the evil entity in order to become all powerful. And in the process, the Scooby-Doo and the gang managed to assemble the disc first, and before it was stolen by Pericles, they used it in order to find all the other four keys. And after they find out the truth about the evil entity and the sarcophagus being cursed, they went to Yucatan to retrieve the heart of the jaguar in order to destroy the crystal sarcophagus and kill the evil entity. Meanwhile, Pericles managed to take over the town and kidnapped all its people in order to dug underground. And after they discovered the pathway to the evil entity, Pericles used the planispheric disk, while the Mr. Ink used all the other four keys to finally reach the master. When they were finally about to destroy the master, the Pericles arrived and officially released the entity from his prison. And now finally, after so many thousands of years, the entity is once again free, who proceeds to possess and kill Professor Pericles and take over his body and mutated it to its liking, and proceed to take over the Christophabots and kill what's the remaining members of the original Mr. Ink, and proceed to destroy the entire town of Crystal Cove by turning it into a volcanic wasteland, and proceed to liberate all its minions from prison in order to capture all the town's citizens in order to devour them alive, as well as trying numerous times to kill Scooby Doo and the Mystery Gang, all of it only to fail. But now, before I go any further, we all should stop and ask ourselves, is the entity evil? And I understand the question seems to be useless and even silly given the creature's name, but it should be noted here that many people believe that the evil entity might be somewhat of a generic doomsday villain, as well as the embodiment of evil in the Scooby Doo universe. However, it should also be noted that the entity hails from a species known as the Anunnaki. All of them are genuinely benevolent and desire to help others, thus implying that the evil entity has only become evil out of his own choice, and thus it's not made of evil and is completely aware of all the horrible things he is doing. And the worst part is the fact that it seems that he takes sadistic enjoyment from them. Not to mention that while Professor Pericles also met the exact same standard to be pure evil, he still was corrupted and manipulated by the entity, as in the new timeline is shown that Pericles is a happy and wonderful person, proving that he was nothing more but a pawn for the monster. And thus, the answer to the question is definitely yes. The evil entity is evil, as is nothing short of pure evil, and ultimately got defeated and killed by Scooby-Doo and the gang, as they used the heart of the jaguar to pierce through the sarcophagus, resulting to the creation of a black hole. They sucked the entity in all its minions, finally killing it once and for all, and avenged all the innocents it has killed, and liberated Crystal Cove and saved the universe. And by its defeat, an entire new timeline was created, resulting in all the people the entity corrupted throughout history have lived good and happy lives, and all of the town is not the crime-ridden place that we knew, but became the sunniest place on earth, and Scooby-Doo and the gang were accepted at this Catholic university, thus leaving all the centuries the monster spent trying to destroy the humanity in absolute vain. So in the end, who was the evil entity? He was nothing more but a diabolical monster who only wanted power and destruction in its own name. A monster that would do anything and sacrifice absolutely anyone in order to achieve its ultimate goal of wanton destruction, and a monster that could easily be called as one of the darkest and the most evil villains ever made in animation. Thanks for watching, everyone. Please don't forget to give a like and subscribe, and have a nice day.
Like, what was up with that?
I need more. There's a feast about all of Crystal Cove.